The photo that changed everything. One quiet photo did what months of rumors could not do. It took Lil Wayne's private life, pulled it straight into the spotlight, and left everyone asking the same question. Did one of hip-hop's biggest legends really get secretly engaged to a young woman from Indiana? For weeks, there was no official statement, no public confirmation, and no clean explanation. Just whispers. Then suddenly, one casual image appeared online with Lil Wayne, Maddy Cannon, and Skip Bayless standing together. The caption called Maddy his fiancée. And that was all it took. In a matter of hours, the rumor stopped feeling like gossip and started feeling like something much bigger. Before that moment, fans had already been digging. Reports claimed Wayne had proposed to a woman in her 20s from Indiana, and internet detectives immediately began searching for the mystery woman. Soon, the name Maddy Cannon, also known online as Maddy K, began circulating everywhere. People connected her to tour appearances, backstage clips, and social media clues. And through it all, Wayne stayed silent. Maddy stayed silent. That silence made the story feel even louder. But this was not just another celebrity dating rumor. What made it different was where Maddy came from. She was not a Hollywood regular, not a famous influencer chasing headlines, and not someone raised inside the entertainment machine. She was a young model and social media personality from Kokomo, Indiana, known more for confidence, fashion, and body positivity than celebrity drama. That is why her family's concern became the real emotional center of the story. Imagine watching your daughter go from posting normal content online to becoming the focus of thousands of strangers overnight. People were discussing her age, her background, Wayne's past relationships, his fame, his fortune, and whether this romance could survive the pressure. And now the biggest question is not just whether the engagement is real. It is whether Wayne can prove to Maddy's family that his intentions are serious. Before we go deeper, comment where you are watching from. If you think this relationship is real, press 1. If you think there is more to the story, press 2. And subscribe, because this situation is only getting more complicated. A small-town girl inside a superstar storm. To understand why this story exploded so fast, you have to understand the difference between Lil Wayne's world and Maddy Cannon's world. Wayne has spent most of his life surrounded by cameras, arenas, interviews, rumors, and non-stop attention. Maddy came from Kokomo, Indiana, a place known for ordinary life, local roots, and a pace completely different from celebrity culture. That contrast is exactly what made people look twice. Maddy was not introduced to the public through a flashy red carpet moment. There was no magazine cover, no polished couple reveal, no carefully planned engagement announcement. Instead, her name surfaced slowly, piece by piece, as fans tried to connect details from photos, captions, and backstage videos. The more they searched, the more the internet became convinced that she was the woman behind the rumor. For Maddy's family, that kind of attention could not have been easy. One day, their daughter was living her life, building her online presence, and posting her own style. The next day, strangers were treating her life like a puzzle. People zoomed in on her photos. They analyzed where she was standing. They compared timelines. They debated whether she belonged in Wayne's work. And that is where the emotional pressure starts. Because this is not just about fame. It is about a young woman being pulled into the orbit of a man who has been famous for decades. Wayne knows how to ignore rumors. He knows how to move through chaos without reacting. But Maddy's family is not built for that kind of storm. They are not protected by fame. They do not have years of media experience. They are watching from the outside as their daughter's name becomes connected to one of the most recognized rappers in America. The age gap made the conversation even louder. Fans immediately started comparing life stages, public history, past relationships, and Wayne's long career. Some people saw romance. Others saw warning signs. And in the middle of that noise were parents who likely wanted one simple thing: to know whether their daughter was truly safe, respected, and taken seriously. That is what made the reported family confrontation so powerful. It was not about clout. It was not about chasing cameras. It was about a family trying to understand if the man at the center of all this attention was ready to protect the woman standing beside him. The silence that made everyone suspicious. In celebrity culture, silence can sometimes say more than a statement. And in this story, the silence from Lil Wayne and Maddy Cannon became one of the biggest reasons people could not stop talking. After the photo with Skip Bayless started spreading, fans expected someone to clear the air. Maybe Wayne would laugh it off. Maybe Maddy would post something simple. Maybe someone close to them would confirm or deny the engagement. But instead, there was nothing. No public explanation. No carefully worded caption, no interview, no direct answer. That silence created space for speculation to grow. Some fans believed the lack of denial meant the engagement was real. Others thought the couple was purposely staying quiet to protect the relationship. A few wondered if the situation was more complicated behind closed doors. But the longer Wayne refused to address it, the more the internet filled in the blanks on its own. This is where Skip Bayless accidentally became a major part of the story. He did not appear to be trying to break celebrity news. He was simply sharing a photo from a hangout with Wayne, but because the caption identified Maddy in such a personal way, the post became the closest thing fans had to confirmation. That one small detail turned a private moment into public evidence. And once people believed there was an engagement, the question shifted. Who is Maddy Cannon? How long has she been around Wayne? Why Indiana? Why keep it quiet? Did her parents approve? Did they even know how serious it had become before the internet found out? For Wayne, staying quiet may have been normal. He has survived decades of headlines, criticism, rumors, and industry pressure. His silence often works like armor. But for Maddy, silence may have carried a different weight. She was not just being discussed as a public figure. She was being judged as someone's daughter, someone's future wife, and someone whose private life suddenly became public entertainment. That is why the family angle matters so much. When a superstar says nothing, the people around him are often left to carry the emotional weight. Maddy's parents were reportedly concerned about the relationship, not just because of the headlines, but because the headlines exposed how little control they had over the story. The public wanted answers. Her family likely wanted reassurance. And Wayne, at least publicly, gave neither. The age gap conversation nobody could ignore. Once people learned Maddy was reportedly in her early 20s and Wayne was in his 40s, the conversation changed immediately. What started as engagement speculation turned into a larger debate about age, power, fame, and trust. For some fans, the age gap was not shocking. Celebrity relationships often come with big differences in lifestyle, money, and public experience. Wayne is a grown man. Maddy is an adult. To those supporters, the only thing that mattered was whether both people were happy in making their own choices. But others saw it differently. They pointed out that Wayne has lived an entire lifetime in the spotlight. He has been famous since he was young, built an empire, raised children, survived public battles, and experienced relationships under extreme attention. Maddy, by comparison, came from a much quieter background. She did not grow up under cameras. She was not trained to handle tabloid pressure. She did not have the same public armor. That difference is what made her parents' reported concerns feel understandable. They were not just looking at a number. They were looking at the full picture. A powerful rapper with decades of fame. A young woman from a small city. A relationship that became public before the family ever had a chance to process it privately. And an internet that had already started turning her into a headline. Parents do not always worry because they believe someone is wrong. Sometimes they worry because the world around the relationship is too heavy. Fame changes the rules. Money changes the pressure. Public attention changes every mistake into a spectacle. And Wayne's past relationships only added more fuel. Fans brought up previous engagements, previous romances, and old headlines, using them to question whether this time would be different. That is the kind of thing any family would notice. If a man has been publicly linked to serious relationships before, the family of the next woman will naturally wonder whether his promises are built to last. This is where the reported promise to Maddy's father becomes important. Because if Wayne truly wanted to prove himself, words alone would not be enough. He would need to show stability, respect, patience, protection, and most importantly, he would need to prove that Maddy was not just another chapter in a long public story. For her family, love may not have been the only question. The real question was whether Wayne understood the responsibility that came with it. The internet investigation went too far. The internet did not just react to the rumor, it hunted for proof. After Maddy Cannon's name started circulating, fans began looking through every possible detail. Old posts, new posts, tour footage, background appearances, clothing, locations, captions. Anything that could connect her to Wayne became part of the online case file. One clip showed her near a backstage area. Another image appeared to place her close to Wayne during a performance stop. People shared screenshots, circled details, and reposted the same fragments across different platforms. What may have been normal private moments quickly became evidence in a public investigation. That kind of attention can feel exciting to fans, but for the person being examined, it can feel overwhelming. Maddy had built her online image around confidence and personal style. Her content was not centered on celebrity gossip. She did not appear to be building her name through public drama. But once the Wayne rumors attached themselves to her, the tone around her changed. People were no longer just looking at her fashion posts. They were trying to decode her life. And that is where the story becomes uncomfortable. Because internet sleuthing can cross a line fast. Fans may think they are just curious, but the person on the other side is still a real human being. Maddy's family likely had to watch strangers discuss their daughter's appearance, age, motives, and future as if she were a character in a show. That is a level of exposure most families are not prepared for. Even more complicated, Wayne's fame made everything bigger. If this had been a normal relationship in Kokomo, maybe only a few people would talk. But because Wayne is one of hip-hop's most famous names, every rumor had national reach. Every clue became content. Every silence became suspicious. The strangest part is that none of this came from a traditional announcement. There was no official engagement video, no press release, no romantic interview. The public built the story from scattered pieces, then pressured the people involved to respond to the version of the story the internet had created. That is a dangerous cycle. A couple stays quiet, fans search harder, rumors get louder, and family members are left trying to separate fact from noise. By this point, Maddy was no longer just Wayne's alleged fiancée in the eyes of the internet. She had become the center of a debate she never publicly asked to enter. Why Wayne's past made the family nervous. Lil Wayne is not a new name in the world of public relationships. He has been famous for so long that fans have watched different parts of his personal life unfold across different eras of hip-hop. That history is part of why the reaction to Maddy Cannon became so intense. When someone as famous as Wayne gets linked to a younger woman outside the industry, people do not look at the relationship in isolation. They bring everything with them. Old engagements, past breakups, public rumors, family history, career pressure. They compare every new chapter to the ones before it. That may not always be fair, but it is how celebrity culture works. For Maddy's parents, Wayne's reputation likely mattered. Not just his musical reputation, but his relationship reputation. If a father is hearing that his daughter may be engaged to a global rap icon, he is probably not only asking whether the man is successful, he is asking whether the man is steady, whether he can be trusted, whether he has learned from the past, whether he understands the emotional weight of marrying someone who is entering a world she did not grow up inside. And Wayne's world is heavy. This is a man whose life has included fame, pressure, public conflict, industry battles, and non-stop attention. He may know how to survive it, but Maddy's family may wonder whether she should have to survive it too. That is not a small concern. Love can be real and still come with consequences. The reported confrontation between Maddy's parents and Wayne becomes more understandable when viewed through that lens. It was not necessarily about attacking him. It may have been about demanding clarity. What are your intentions? Are you serious? Are you protecting her? Is this a private commitment or another headline that will fade when the spotlight moves? Those are hard questions, especially for someone like Wayne, who has often handled personal matters by saying very little. But silence does not always comfort a worried family. Sometimes silence makes them push harder. If Wayne truly gave Maddy's father a promise, that promise would need to be more than a romantic line. It would need to sound like accountability, a promise to respect her, a promise to keep her grounded, a promise not to let fame swallow her identity, a promise that she would not become another woman dragged through public speculation while the superstar moves on untouched. Because for her parents, this was never just about Wayne's name. It was about their daughter's future. Maddy's image before the rumors. Before the engagement talk, Maddy Cannon had a completely different kind of public presence. She was known for self-love, fashion, confidence, and a grounded online personality. Her following may not have been massive compared to celebrity influencers, but it appeared loyal because her content felt personal, not manufactured. That matters because the internet often assumes anyone close to a celebrity is chasing fame. But Maddy's image did not seem built around controversy. She was not constantly attaching herself to famous names. She was not publicly marketing a dramatic lifestyle. She seemed to be building a modest platform around being comfortable with herself. Then everything changed. Once people connected her name to Wayne, every part of her image was reinterpreted. Her confidence became a topic. Her posts became clues. Her background became a talking point. Even her hometown became part of the narrative. Suddenly, being from Kokomo was not just a fact. It became proof that she came from a world far removed from Wayne's. This is where the story becomes bigger than celebrity gossip. It becomes about identity. Can someone stay grounded when the internet starts defining them through a superstar relationship? Can a young woman keep her own image when millions of people only know her as someone's alleged fiancé? Can a family protect the person they know when the public is busy creating a version of her they have never met? Those questions sit underneath the whole situation. Maddy's parents reportedly had concerns, and it is easy to understand why. They likely knew her before the attention, before the rumors, before the screenshots. They knew the person behind the post. So while fans were debating whether she matched Wayne's lifestyle, her family may have been asking something much more personal. Is she still being seen as herself? That is one of the risks of dating someone with legendary fame. The superstar's name becomes the headline, and everyone else becomes a supporting character. But Maddy's life did not begin with Wayne. Her dreams, her confidence, her style, and her family existed before the internet connected her to him. If Wayne wants to prove this relationship is serious, protecting that identity may be just as important as protecting the relationship itself. Because love in private is one thing, love under public pressure is something completely different. And right now, Maddy's image is being tested in a way she may never have expected. The promise her father needed to hear. The most emotional part of this story is not the photo. It is not the rumor. It is not even the age gap. The most emotional part is the idea that Maddy's parents reportedly needed to hear something directly from Wayne before they could believe his intentions were real. Because for a family, fame does not automatically equal trust. Wayne can sell out shows. He can influence generations. He can survive criticism that would break other artists. But none of that proves he can be the right man for someone's daughter. To a father, awards and money may not matter as much as character. To a mother, status may not matter as much as peace. That is why the reported promise matters. If Wayne sat across from Maddy's family, the conversation likely had nothing to do with music charts or celebrity power. It would have been about responsibility. Would he respect her voice? Would he protect her from the uglier side of fame? Would he allow her to stay connected to her family and her own identity? Would he treat the engagement as a real commitment, not a moment of excitement? Those are the questions families ask when love becomes serious. And with Wayne, the stakes are even higher because his life is not ordinary. A relationship with him does not just mean romance. It means attention. It means headlines. It means old stories coming back every time a new one appears. It means strangers will discuss private matters as if they are public property. For Maddy's father, the promise he needed may have been simple. Do not embarrass her. Do not abandon her. And do not let the world turn her into entertainment. That kind of promise is powerful because it goes beyond celebrity gossip. It speaks to something every family understands. When someone you love steps into a relationship with a person who has power, influence, and history, you want to know they will still be treated gently. Wayne's challenge is that he cannot prove that with one sentence. He can only prove it with time. The internet may want instant answers, but families watch patterns. They watch consistency. They watch how someone behaves when the cameras are gone. So even if the engagement is real, even if the ring is real, even if the photo made everything public, the real test is still happening quietly. Not online, not in captions, not in fan debates. It is happening in the trust Wayne has to build with the people who knew Maddy long before the world learned her name. The quiet phase before the biggest answer. After all the noise, the story has entered a strange quiet phase. The photo is out there. The rumors have spread. Maddy's name is known. Wayne has been linked to her publicly. Fans have debated every detail they can find. But the two people at the center of the story still have not given the world a full explanation. That silence leaves everyone in suspense. Some people believe the quiet means they are protecting something real. Others think the lack of direct confirmation leaves too many questions unanswered. But one thing is clear. The public already sees Maddy and Wayne as connected, whether they explain it or not. And that may be the hardest part for Maddy's family. Once a story becomes public, it can be almost impossible to take back. Even if Wayne and Maddy decide to keep their relationship private, the internet has already attached their names together. Every future appearance will be watched. Every missing post will be questioned. Every ring, outfit, caption, or location will become another clue for people to debate. That is the reality of celebrity attention. It does not wait for permission. For Wayne, this may feel familiar. He has been through public storms before. He knows how to keep moving while people talk. He knows how to let rumors rise and fade without giving them too much energy. But Maddy and her family are newer to this kind of pressure. For them, every headline may feel personal. Every comment may feel closer to home. That difference could become the real test of the relationship. A superstar can be calm inside chaos because chaos is normal to him. But the person beside him may need reassurance, protection, and communication. Her family may need to see that Wayne understands that. They may need to see that he is not just comfortable with pressure, but capable of helping Maddy handle it too. Because the biggest answer is not whether the engagement rumor was loud. It already was. The biggest answer is whether the relationship can stay steady after the noise fades. If Wayne truly made a promise to Maddy's father, this is where that promise begins to matter. Not in front of fans, not in a caption, not in a viral post, but in the quiet decisions that come after everyone has already judged them. Will he protect her peace? Will she keep her own identity? Will her family feel respected? Will this become a real marriage? Or another unfinished chapter in a long celebrity timeline? Right now, nobody outside their circle truly knows. The ring may be real, the photo may be real, but the silence is still the loudest part of the story. What this story really says about fame, family, and trust. At the end of this entire situation, the biggest lesson is not just about Lil Wayne, Maddy Cannon, or one viral photo. It is about what happens when private emotions collide with public fame, and when a family's concern becomes part of a story the internet refuses to let go. Wayne has spent decades building a name that changed hip-hop forever. His influence is undeniable. His voice, his style, his legacy, and his impact on rap culture are already written into history. But when it comes to love, legacy does not automatically solve everything. A man can be a legend on stage and still have to prove himself at the family table. That is the part many fans miss. For Maddy's parents, the question was probably never about whether Wayne was famous enough. Everyone knows he is famous. The question was whether he was steady enough, serious enough, and respectful enough to bring their daughter into a world that can be beautiful one day and brutal the next. Fame can open doors, but it can also create pressure that ordinary families never asked for. And for Maddy, this situation shows how quickly a person can lose control of their own story. Before the rumors, she had her own identity, her own confidence, her own image, and her own life. After the rumors, strangers began defining her through Wayne's name. That is why the healthiest path forward is not more drama, more speculation, or more online judgment. It is patience, privacy, and respect. Strategically, Wayne's best move is simple. Protect the relationship without turning it into a spectacle. If the engagement is real, he does not need to prove it through loud posts or public arguments. He can prove it through consistency, loyalty, and how he treats Maddy when nobody is watching. That is the kind of proof a family respects, and Maddy's family has a right to ask hard questions. Love is not just about emotion, it is about responsibility. It is about whether two people can stand together when outside pressure becomes heavy. It is about whether fame serves the relationship or slowly damages it. The peaceful lesson here is clear. People should not be reduced to rumors. Parents should not be mocked for being protective. A young woman should not be turned into a headline just because she is connected to someone famous. And a famous man should be judged not only by his image, but by his actions over time. So whether Wayne and Maddy are truly engaged or still keeping things private, the real answer will come through time. Not captions, not screenshots, not fan theories. Time. If you think Wayne can prove his promise and protect this relationship, press 1. If you think Maddy's family has every reason to be cautious, press 2. Share your opinion in the comments. Like the video if you want more deep breakdowns like this. And subscribe to the channel, because the next story may reveal even more than this one did.